This one?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's the state pledge? Just in case you need to know.
It's called Directionally Challenged.
I don't have it memorized. So.
Oh, you don't know?
I have to read it.
Now,
You sound
if
like
I
Bernie.
could find my agenda, here it is. Okay. Now, is this on? No. There it is. Okay. Now, lights, camera, and action. Okay, we need to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Oh.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. And approve the minutes of the 2 weeks ago meeting. Can't remember the date.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Do we have any people this evening that would like to make public comment? Okay. Well, Brian actually had his hand up a fraction before. Oh, okay.
All right.
Would you please?
Yep, absolutely. Have to excuse me. I have a bit of a chest cold today, so I just try to get through this as best I can. My name is Adam Florin. I am the clerk in Money Creek Township, and I'm here today because I wanted to really bring up an issue that came up in late last year at one of your board meetings, and that was the issue of replacing one of the full-time people in our auditors department. So what I wanted to talk about is I watched the video from one of those discussions in late September, and one of the main points that was made as far as not refilling the position was that the computerized systems offer more efficiency and therefore should be less labor-intense work in the auditor's office. My background is I've worked as an efficiency manager at my company for about 16 years, and in doing that, I've traveled all over the North America, in Europe, and I've made this, I've done specific projects related to efficiency, and in the process of doing that, one thing I've always tried to do is involve the people that are doing the work in the decision-making process. And in my experience, what I've found is that as you implement a system from a paper-based system to a computer system, what you tend to find is not necessarily 100% more efficient result, but what you find is that mistakes are eliminated, which is a huge help, and just the total net output is a more accurate process. But it doesn't necessarily equate all of those savings are not labor savings. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that that's a really dangerous assumption to make, that if something is computerized, it essentially takes less time. I'm hoping all of you did take time before you made this decision to go and actually work in the auditor's office. I've been an election judge, our head election judge, for about 11 years. I learned a lot from the auditor's office, specifically with the training that Auditor Shar and Deputy Auditor Michelle Quinn had offered over the years. And I can tell you that their training that I've witnessed there, and I've taken trainings other places as well, the training here has been exceptional. It really, really has. And when you have a county such as ours that has a typically about a 90% voter turnout rate, you need an exceptional auditor in the office. And so I guess my public comment would be is that I'd really would like to see the board reconsider its decision from that October 24th meeting where you opted to not refill that position. I think you could find a better way to save money elsewhere in the as far as in the Houston County budget. With that, I guess I'll let other people speak. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce, I believe.
Excuse me?
No, I'm sorry. Brian.
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. Bruning Rock Products has shown itself to be a horrible neighbor. They should not be given a CUP for Skyline Mine location at this time. They have had multiple violations over the last 10 years against the Fields property and have failed to complete an order from the Board of Adjustments to repair damage. They have caused considerable damage to Audrey Elmo's property and have failed to offer compensation. Now they want her to waive her future legal rights. Almost a year ago, the MPCA issued a notice of violation at the Skyline site and at another Bruning property located in Fillmore County. The Skyline violation was not an accident, but rather from deliberate actions taken by the operator according to the notice of violations. They have failed to take action on or to correct the violation in a timely way. On top of all this, following Mr. Fadness's lead, that's Bruning's attorney, our zoning administrator makes the absurd argument that when the MPCA issues a notice of violation, it is not really a violation. Given this false statement, some of the less astute or perhaps less well-intentioned Planning Commission members were duped into recommending approval of the CUP. To approve this CUP at this time, with its long history of destructive behavior towards its neighbors, would be unconscionable. There has to be some limit to what will be tolerated by this board. If you approve this CUP, you are making a judgment that a minor can bully and usurp rights of its neighbors. I know we need gravel in this county, but I believe we can access it legally and without damaging, degrading, or devaluing neighbors' property. That is why our ordinance exists, to regulate mines. Worst of all, this is not a one-off situation. As we all know, this has become a pattern of behavior in this county. And a second point that's related but separate, much has been made of keeping the price of sand and gravel low in this county for the county and townships. I will show that proper regulation has minimal impact on sand and gravel prices. The most important thing you can do to keep sand prices low is to ban frac sand mining. If frac sand mining is allowed, Economics 101 says that the increased demand for sand will result in a price increase. It's also important to note that if a sand producer could sell sand for X price for frac sand, why would he sell it for 1/2 X to the county or townships? Secondly, getting more to the point, to make any estimate of impact in economic changes, some assumptions have to be made. The assumptions made in this case study are as follows. Number one, if a mine applies for a permit, it'll be active for 20 years. Why get a permit and pay for reclamation for less? Number two, on average, about 10,000 yards will be mined per year. This is consistent with current use for permitted mines. Remember, one of the criteria to get a CUP is that the applicant must demonstrate a need. If there is less use than this, there is no need and he should not get a CUP. If they need an EAW, The cost, according to Jeff Broberg, who does this kind of work, will vary from $8,000 to $25,000 depending on the level of detail required and whether or not it's contested. This amounts to between 4 and 12.5 cents per cubic yard. Certainly that is not a cause for concern. Most mines, however, this impact is about the same impact on prices as a 25-cent increase in fuel price. Nobody's freaking out about that. Now, most mines that apply for a CUP will not need an EAW, so the cost will be less than 1 cent per cubic yard. Truly insignificant. Letting mines break the law to keep the costs low is unethical. Of course, any business can operate at a lower cost if all regulations protecting the environment and society are removed. That is hardly the intent of the ordinance. Do the research and do the math, and it also turns out that the concern over raising prices is a lie. Can we finally put this myth to bed? It is only the talk of people who want to continue unregulated mining. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bruce Chemical from Caledonia, Minnesota. I have a question, if you'd care to answer, would be fine. Do you know when you're going to put the Skyline CUP proposal recommendation from the Planning Commission on your agenda? Next week or March 6th?
Usually it's like, I think, a week or two after the Planning Commission,
Yeah.
so it's going to be one of those 2 dates, but
Yeah.
we haven't
But
been.
right now you haven't
Nothing's
set
been
that.
set, no.
Nothing has been said on that.
And you do realize that the 120-day window is closing, what, March 14, I think?
Yeah, something like that, 14,
Yeah.
15, somewhere in there.
Thank you. The CUP process surrounding this, this time, the CUP process is most instructive. The more I make phone calls to MPCA and Minnesota Department of Transportation, the more I learn about the relationship of those agencies to Houston counties. Timelines are also very revealing. What is said and written or not is quite eye-opening. But even more mind-expanding is the back-breaking effort on the part of key actors in this county to trash the very enshrined county documents that have given life to county governance. Documents that some members of this board today, as well as many previous board members in the past, who have over the decades given their best faith actions. I'm speaking of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, the Houston County Water Management Plan, and of course the zoning ordinance. There is a dismissive attitude that pervades this historic courthouse, which is disrespectful to the past efforts of those individuals who spent a lot of time thrashing out statements of intent, guidance, and provisions of local law. A lot of taxpayer money has been expended to generate those documents, and they should be better treated than they are now. To clear up the smoke over the flawed Skyline Winnebago Quarry CUP expansion proposal, I call on you to conduct a hearing before the 120 days are up. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Are there any other folks wishing to make public comment before the rest of the agenda? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I got to turn the paper over so I find out where I am. Now, EDA Director Burgee was supposed to be on the agenda next to talk about a project there, and she lives in Rochester, and it was not a good day to try to get here from Rochester. So she isn't here, and Mr. Miller and I are both on the EDA board, so we will try to cover that for her. I'll let you start.
Well, are we gonna go through the abatements one by one? Or? Do you
Well,
want?
that's the,
Okay, just say.
yeah, the abatement refers to, not to the later ones, but the abatement listed there refers to the one connected with that project, I think.
Then you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just a moment. I was hoping to buy a little time to get a chance to dig my papers out of my briefcase, but, okay. Oh, wait a minute, I've got that. Okay. My computer will take a moment to liven up here, I'm afraid, because that's where I've got it. Maybe we should go on to the next item,
Dick.
which will be Park Committee Member Walter. I think, Dick, you better talk for a little while I bring my computer to life, because that's where I've got this abatement thing, so sorry about that.
Well, good evening.
Hi, Dick.
Evening.
I
Nice to
did.
see you guys again.
You too, Dick.
Did you receive my packet on the Butcher Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you got to review the layout that we kind of proposed. And I'm working, well, I worked with a DNR guy out of Nicollet County who has gotten several grants from the Carl and Verna Schmidt Foundation. And I talked to your EDA person too. She thought, I think I'm requesting a little over 13,000. And she didn't think they gave that big of grants, but this DNR had actually received up to 50,000 in grants with them. So I decided to give it a shot, because if we're gonna make that into a park, we've got to, get some fun someplace. Or I'd have to talk to Justin about the Lions Club in Houston or something. So I need, one of the requirements is that we have county board approval.
This grant, Dick, is it any matching, anything? I don't see
There's no
anything about-
matching. The way he told me, he said it's a very private foundation that, because I said, well, maybe I could go up there and appear before him. He said, no way. It's just you mail in. They have a telephone number, which I've left 2 messages, and he said they'll never return the call. You've got their address, you send it in, and he said sometimes you won't hear anything, and all of a sudden a check will come in the mail.
Is he willing to help you prepare, or is that going to fall on Courtney? Where is it in terms of getting the application to them?
I've got everything ready to put in the mail. I just need the board approval.
Okay, so
Move
you've done the,
Yeah, and actually the guy that I've been working with through the DNR, he was very helpful, except when I sent him, because I wanted to, I wanted it to be as good of a chance as possible. And he called me back, or he emailed me back and said, I can't respond to yours because I'm putting in an application too. So I thought, sooner the better.
did he indicate what kind of a timetable, if it would be accepted? I mean, do they?
No,
No.
nope. He said they'll do it 2 ways. He said you give them an email and address and a phone number, and if they have any questions, they will contact you. So there is a possibility they're going to have some questions, which I did, use my email and my number.
And on here, so it's the 13,290 is what the grant is for, right?
Yes.
And then And then this is, reading this right, it's mainly for clearing the hiking trails and putting in the chips and that kind of stuff?
This is just for the materials.
Okay, okay,
It's just for the picnic tables.
okay.
It's just for the lawnmower. It's just for the trailer to haul the lawnmower. It's just for the actual chips.
Okay, so just the
Yep.
purchasing of things.
Yep.
Okay.
Everything I'm hoping.
And then as volunteer help in Troop 53, I saw in there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I've got 2 Eagle Scouts that are, one of them for sure and is interested in doing his Eagle Scout project, which some of those projects are fairly big. So, I'm hoping to get some work out of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess my other question is in the summary of stuff. So, okay, so for like the lawnmower and all that kind of stuff, I guess who's in charge then, like of daily mowing or not daily, but I mean.
Well, I think eventually it'll probably fall on the county highway.
So then that mower would go to the county.
Yes.
When that, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all I've actually talked to Carol to make sure that there is a place when this check comes, how it goes into a fund for that. So
Okay.
I've gotten prices on all this stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dick, how much lawn is there actually out there that's going to be mowed? I was out there and looked around, and what are you going to mow?
Well, I think you're going to see some area cleared, so you have a picnic area. A picnic area
Okay.
has to be mowed.
Okay.
And just a rough estimate, everything I'm doing is a little bit on the rough side. I almost figured an acre at least for picnic area.
And I'm trying to envision who would actually run the lawnmower, where would it be stored, how is it going to get there, all that good stuff, all those little picky details. I'm trying to.
Well, I suppose to begin with, it'll be me. 'Cause
Yeah.
You guys did make me in charge of it. So, and you're not going to pay me.
Right, but eventually, I would think all the maintenance of the park will end
Yeah,
up
will
under
be
the county
the highway
highway.
department. The trailer will be probably housed at the highway shop, and probably I'll go there to pick it up and take it out there.
I mean, there will be, no matter what, there will be some future cost. Anytime
Yeah.
you have a park, there's future
Exactly.
cost to a
You're
park.
right.
And we're gonna have to probably remulch at times, clear trails at times. There's
Yep.
going to be,
And you've got some good help at home, so you won't be having to do it alone.
yeah, right.
It's a new way. I didn't think anybody talked about that.
Now, Dick, what is really unique about this park? We've got a state park, Beaver Park, which is a well-developed park, has places for people, places for people to put campers and tents and all that sort of thing, and some pretty well-developed trails. What makes this park unique and something that we really need to do rather than something that, well, yeah, but what's
Well, I don't know
really
if
the deal?
I don't know if you really need to. I'm kind of the guy that worked with Bob Botcher and walked the land with him and listened to his stories, and he wanted it donated. I think he looked at it more maybe for a hunting, but I don't know if the county board wants to get into
The liability and
hunting. It's not that,
Yeah.
it's 33.6 acres. Now, I've had Valerie from DNR look at it. We've had some plant people look at it, and they talked about the hillside. It's a pretty steep hillside, but there was some unique plants in there. And when we walked it with the Scoutmaster and Valerie and everything, she talked about a lot of it's got a really wide variety of species of trees and stuff. And so I just think, we've got state parks, but we don't have a county park that actually has trails. And this one will have a handicap trail, which I don't know if,
I don't know whether,
I don't know if Beaver does or not.
yeah, whether that
So-
does or not.
And I think it's a
Beaver.
fairly low maintenance costing park, so. I'm really what I'm trying to do is fulfill his wish.
I know, I understand. But obviously where I'm coming from is, this will cost the county money down the road. How much, I don't know, but eventually it will, and this is the start of it.
Right, and I-
So
yeah.
we got to think about, okay, how long are the tails? What are we really getting into here, and what are we doing for what we're going to get into, etc. You know the drill. You've been around here
That's
for
why
a
I'm
while. We got to
trying to
think.
go
We
for
got to
a grant
think
here.
about stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm picking up what, I mean, you're not going to want to do this forever either, probably. And so, I mean, that's the kind of things I think we need to think about is who's going to pick up the
Well, I
pace.
think, yeah. I mean, I've had a few people from different areas that are Lions members or whatever, and they said, that's a great idea. Maybe there's areas like that. I mean, and I've had a few people that just live in the country there and have told me that they would be, like, okay, I'll give you an example. We've got at Initial Point, which is about 4 miles west of New Albin, Iowa, and it's up on the ridge there. Hope somebody has visited it. Good.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Been there.
Well, yeah, and, we spend a minimal amount of time keeping that thing up. Because one of the reasons is the neighbor across the street and the guy down the road actually come in and mow it and do some work on it, all volunteer work. So, who knows?
Yeah.
But I do think it's a very, did you get to walk back into the woods very far or anything?
It was kind of nasty weather when I was down
Okay,
there.
okay.
I
So you did find
passed
it?
on that.
Did I give you good directions?
Oh, sure.
Good.
Drove right to it, no problem.
Good.
But it was not conducive to hiking.
Okay.
So what you'd like tonight is a vote to approve submitting the,
For the
Grant.
grant application, yes.
I'd move to approve applying for it.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve applying for the grant. Any further discussion?
I just think that'd be too hard to turn something like this down. We're getting land donated, we're looking for grant money. We really don't have a Houston County Park, and I think it'd be hard to look the gift horse,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can find people to step up in the
Yeah.
future and help, be it the Boy
Yeah, I do.
Scouts,
I
the
think-
Lions, different
yeah, I think-
organizations, to help us with this maintenance too.
Yeah.
I think people will turn out and help.
Yeah, I think since the little bit of a chance I've had to talk to people, the ones that did, I know the Eagle Scouts grandparents and Scoutmaster thought that, they're really enthused about it. And they're looking at doing, different, maybe burned wood signs that would call out what kind of tree it is, because I know there's some unique trees in there.
Yeah, if we can keep
And
the
different
scouts.
plants, I hope someday, that'll happen. I know Val is very keen on that. She sent a very nice letter along with this. So I think that's good. So,
Any further discussion?
I've heard about Bocce Park every day for months.
I can't figure out why. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The grant will be applied for.
Thanks for all your work, Dick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dick.
Yeah.
And if you get a mower, make it one that Teresa's comfortable with.
Well,
We'll leave it well.
I think you'll plead the Fifth Amendment on that one.
no, Teresa's been very helpful too on it. Understanding, I mean, I really just felt that we need to go somewhere with Bob Botcher's wishes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll go back to the tax abatement and EDA update.
Yeah, and I'll start off.
Okay.
At our last EDA meeting, we actually had quite a lengthy discussion, and it was not a unanimous vote, but it was a vote to approve an abatement for a building, apartment complex built near the high school would be.
Directly south of the high school on the road that goes, I can't remember the name of the street. Sorry. Somebody from Caledonia help me out.
I can't remember.
You can't remember it either. It's the road that goes straight south from the front of the school in any event. Okay.
But it was described as land that's not really conducive to any other good use, I guess is the best way to put it. The issue that stood out is that this is not a normal EDA project. We're not talking about how many jobs will be created or the type of business. It's more of an investment in the community of Caledonia. The gentleman already has some rental units in Caledonia that were described as being well kept and no problems. There, in past housing studies, a need for housing has been identified. So in short, the EDA board thought that this would be something that would be a good thing for the community and for the county. So I'd like to add to that, Fred.
Basically, the tax value of the lots involved at this point is $2,200. The taxes would be $19,006 when the project is completed, which is obviously a pretty substantial increase, and the abatement would be half of that difference over 10 years. So although eventually the county's portion of the estimated tax bill eventually would be $6,838 a year, half of that for 10 years, then we would see an increase in our taxable income off of that property of $3,419 a year. And then at the end of 10 years, why it would go up to the 68. That's assuming the taxes stay the same all that time, which would be nice. But in any event, that's the impact now. It would add taxable value to the county now to the tune of $3,419 a year. The basic question that the EDA board was dealing with on this, as Jack has said, first of all, it's not something that EDA normally deals with. But on the other hand, one of the things that we are faced with in attracting people to work in this county is housing. Well, this isn't going to be low-income housing or, well, I think it'll be somewhat affordable housing, but those units are going to be kind of pricey. So, yeah, okay. And we went back and forth on it for quite a while, and as you notice, the vote was split. It was 3-2. Discussion from the other board members, please.
I'd like to point out that what they're trying to do is build 2 8-plexes on the property for 16 total units. It came in front of the city council for abatement also, and the city did approve an abatement for their share of the taxes.
Yeah.
For an increase like it would be for the county for 10 years, and then it would go up to full.
Yeah,
But
same deal.
like a gift horse again, how do you turn down some increase? Would he do it with no increase? You know, what he's stating here is that, no, without abatements, he would not be able to afford to build this complex. I guess it kind of comes down to that. Would you think he would build it anyhow or not, you know, to gain an extra $3,000 a year in taxes? And, you know, I'm from Caledonia, and I know there is a definite apartment shortage. You know, we have apartments, they're above bars and buildings and stuff. We really are short of apartments. He owns the 2 8-plexes, I believe they are now, down if you're going out towards the city dump, and he fixed them all up. And he owns the one right across, that's a 4-plex. It's actually an 8-plex there too, I think 4 below and 4 above, across from Merchants Bank, and he fixed those all up. So this guy has done a really nice job of keeping up and improving the properties that he did purchase in town. I believe he's from Rochester.
Right,
Actually.
Rochester.
So the question then is he playing the long-term game or the short-term game? You know, I mean, if he's going to build it anyway, you gain a little bit of taxes that you wouldn't be giving up. But even if you gave it up long-term, it's not like they're going to build them and 10 years later rip them down. I mean, you're playing that long-term game of they're there, you get the long-term tax benefits.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you could possibly be losing a little bit if you built them anyhow, but
Right.
you're guaranteeing that you're going to get a long-term gain.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's kind of a, and there's very few cities that don't have to give some kind of abatement anymore, counties or anybody, to get people to invest in their
An
communities.
incentive.
Entice them, yeah.
I would make a motion to approve the abatement.
Well,
Or not
schedule a
abatement.
public hearing
Oh,
for
We've
March
gotta schedule a
27th
public-
at 10
okay.
a.m.
I've not read it all the way, I guess.
Yeah. We need a public hearing for it. So you're.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Schedule a public hearing for March 27th to approve the abatement.
27th?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, schedule a public hearing. Tess, you're up.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening, Tess.
We have just a handful of staffing matters to start with. And in the auditor's office, we are asking, and the auditor has completed a performance evaluation for Larissa Erickson, who was hired several months ago, almost half a year, as a deputy auditor. And it's the department head's recommendation, as well as mine, to change her status from probationary to regular effective February 28th, 2018. Auditor Miners, would you like to make a comment on her behalf?
She's an excellent employee, so I would recommend it.
Yes, I've had good conversations with her, and she's doing a superb job. I would move to approve her status from probationary to regular.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you. John? We have a couple of matters coming before you from the Human Services Office. The first one is to accept the resignation of Wilma Scho and thank her for her service to the residents of Houston County. Wilma has been an employee at this county for approximately 13 and a half years. And so her resignation date is I forgot to write that down, the 26th, February the 26th, will be her last complete day of work.
I'd add, Wilma has been a member of our Human Services Department for that period of time and has been a financial worker and done a really fine job for us during that time, and so we wish her well in her next endeavors.
I'd make a motion to accept the resignation of Wilma Scho and thank her. I know Wilma personally, and I'm sure she did a great job.
I'd second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resignation accepted regretfully.
And with that, thank you very much. And with that, we would like to utilize, we have a current ongoing financial worker opening. We'd like to expand that to include searching for 2 financial workers out of that pool as we go through our processes.
I'll make a motion to pursue the financial worker search.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? John, is there any chance of not having to fill both of them?
You know, I sent out some stuff to commissioners in the wake of the last opening that we spoke about. I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is a position that is pretty critical to our operation, not just in the financial worker area, but the work that they do and the eligibility that they determine for different programs really funds many of the other services that we provide, and also funds services that are provided by other organizations and nonprofits. In the stuff I sent out to you, I also outlined that there's been pretty significant change in the whole world of income maintenance, and as it relates to both federal and state changes, and that's resulted in significant increases in the number of cases that we're dealing with. So I have evaluated that, and I wouldn't recommend that would be a place that we could absorb a loss.
In fact, when we talked about this earlier, we described these positions as, in some sense, the backbone of the department, because it's where the support network for families really is at, in many ways.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to. Obviously, it provides needed support for families who have those financial needs, but given that they have those financial needs, many of those folks, not all, and maybe not even most, but many also have other places that they interact with us or others in the county, like public health or other organizations that rely on different public assistance programs that we determine the eligibility for. And so it offsets a lot of other county costs to make sure that those programs are in place.
So there is some pass-through of dollars.
Yeah, as far as the position itself, it's reimbursed by the state at a rate of somewhere between 45 and 50%, depending on a really complicated formula that...
It wouldn't be human services if it weren't complicated.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
I know.
you know, they could tell us how it works, but then they'd probably have to kill us. And, but it's roughly, it's in that neighborhood of 50%. When we budget for these positions, we budget 50% reimbursement. And so to provide the eligibility work for folks in these programs, it's mandated by the state that we do it. The state offsets those costs to the tune of about 50%.
Okay.
You've already advertised for the previous one?
It is posted. Have we advertised?
Well, the advertisement went out right after this came in, and I, in the advertisement, took the liberty of putting an S behind it just to save us about $800 in total cost. It may not be quite that high, but it's substantial. Figuring we can always back it down and actually only hire one, but trying to be proactive about being responsible, fiscally responsible. So it was advertised as last weekend.
Okay, having that said, what kind of person do you look to fill this? I mean, what kind of background?
You know, what I found in my experience both here and in another county is it isn't always the type of person that you'd think or associate with social services or like social work. It's a different kind of work. We've found that people who have experience with things like banking, up north in a college town, we found that people who had worked in financial aid offices in colleges were kind of had a lot of transferable skills. People with customer service, you know, those are areas that seem to be able to be well suited for this type of work. It's also a highly technical and rule-driven type of position, and you guys have heard lots about Maxis systems and METS and these computerized systems. Is that they're anything but stable, and they're changing and being improved. You know, so there's a fair degree of technical ability that somebody would need to have.
And so folks,
Technology, I'm sorry.
applicants apply initially through the merit system. So it's a double process, if you will, at the county level as well as at the State Department of Human Services level. And so this having advertised for both certainly doesn't, you know, I wasn't under any wasn't trying to second guess the board in any manner, but it certainly simplifies the process because because the complexities of having to go through merit at the same time, and which position are we testing for, or are they being evaluated on? So
These kind of come together too because we kind of pushed the pause button on the first one because there were some changes in the merit system in their examination process. And so if we would have gone forward with that right away, there would have been kind of a duplicative thing that would have been quite confusing to applicants. And so since we hadn't started that search yet, we decided to just pause until the 12th of February when that new process with merit took effect.
they changed their system in the middle of our search, so to speak. So we decided to wait, and in the interim, this position.
Right, we are not adding positions, we're backfilling positions.
Correct. This would be a replacement for Wilma's position that you just heard about.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
search is approved.
Sheriff?
Hey, Tess.
I need a swivel chair over here. Is that not on?
No.
There we go.
Okay, the last staffing item I'm sorry.
see it.
Thank you. The last staffing item we have is to initiate an immediate search for a female jailer dispatcher. We do not normally, when we search for any position, designate if it's male or female, because obviously the EEO, there are exceptions when you can, and there is a bona fide business purpose to doing so. There are very few bona fide business purposes to say we need a man or a woman in a particular position. This happens, jailer dispatchers happens to be one of those areas. In looking at this, and as you recall, the board recently finalized the termination of an individual, so that's why we are here. I do need to let you know that we are in the midst of a grievance process of that. However, we're not asking for a hiring determination tonight. We would just like to be able to get our search started in the event that we are in a position to hire, since it is a lengthy process and we have a need. When this came about, I spoke with the sheriff. He in turn spoke with jail administrator Mark Schultz, who forwarded the information to me with regards to how many shifts since January they have had in the jail without having a female detention officer, jailer dispatcher on duty at that time. Please keep in mind that before they can do any kind of intake of a female, that female has to be searched. These are DOC requirements. We have used inmates on sentence to serve. They come out and assist our folks in maintenance. They go back in, and I'm informed by the sheriff that there's a search that occurs again. So we would like to keep this, we would like to add another female. In fact, I think you probably could add a couple more females to get your numbers.
One I feel would bring us up to at least a reasonable ratio, I guess, of female to male workers in the jail. So being that we're shorthanded and you know, presumably going to be searching for a new jailer, that we'd be requesting to be a female.
I believe there's 14 shifts since January 1 where we did not have a female on duty.
Some of them aren't full shifts,
but still, yeah.
This has been an ongoing process, hasn't it, Mark? Not having enough female jailers in comparison.
Yeah. When I started, there was only two female, well, three, and then one resigned shortly after I started. But so we're down to two for a long time, and that made it extremely difficult.
I understand that they have to just keep the person in holding until they get staffing to show up. So with that, we respectfully request that you approve us to begin this search immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Motion carried.
Sheriff, you might as well stay here for a second. Well, next thing we have on the agenda is for facilities for the Justice Center. It is the, we request, and by the way, IT Director Mildy cannot be here tonight, but I do need to let you know that Director Mildy, myself, the sheriff, and others have met over this matter that's coming before you on several occasions. We have tossed around options for the last 6 months and wrestled them down like I said, every way, but from Sunday. And so what you have in front of you is a request to upgrade the Stanley Commander Control Stations and Informer Gatekeeper for a cost of $25,600. This is something we anticipated a need for. We did budget adequately for this. Now, these computers, the server, replacing the, I understand the servers, 3 computers, touchpads, all of this, these control the doors and the access badges for the CJC. I understand that This equipment normally is, last 5 to 7 years. We're at about the 7.5-year mark, coming up on 8 years this fall. And this is one of those things that's anticipated, that we have to upgrade these systems. So with that, we ask that it be approved so we can go forward with Stanley.
And this has been budgeted for.
It's been
Because we knew
budgeted
it
for.
was
We've
coming.
had other quotes. This by far was the most cost-effective.
Mark, there's no way this could ever fell under that courthouse security grant that we were
Because it
looking
was a
for?
current, it was a current system.
Yeah,
So that, all we're doing is upgrading the software essentially.
right. That had to be new
Yes.
equipment, not upgrades or not upkeep.
So this was included in the facilities budget. In fact, we thought we were going to have to spend a little more than what we are. So it came in at an amount that we were satisfied with.
So this is under the sheriff's budget or the facilities budget?
Facility.
Facilities budget, it was part of maintaining the facility.
And being that it's 3 new computers, why wouldn't it fall under new for the court security system?
Replacement computers.
They're replacing computers,
Replacing
right?
it.
Yeah, my understanding is they're actually just replacing the software and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's
keep
how
the
I read
computer.
this.
I
Well,
believe
we're
so.
replacing 3 Commander PCs, 19 touch-tone monitors, the Wonderware runtime licenses. Programming is included in there as well, labor and travel.
And I don't know, I think that.
This should have come in your packet, Commissioners,
Yeah, we did get it in
Yep.
our packet. Yeah.
Yep.
and it's a 3-page document?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
I just
only
wanted
thing
to
I
make
was
sure.
wondering about, and I do believe that courthouse security grant would have had to do more with the courthouse.
Yeah, it was actually a court security.
Right. So I don't
So,
know even
I
if
mean,
this was all new, if we could have slid it in or not under that grant. but-
That wasn't my impression.
Right.
I'd move to approve the purchase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Oh,
We didn't vote on the
Did
jailer
did we
dispatcher.
vote
Oh.
on jailer dispatcher?
You kind of ran right into this one, didn't we? I don't remember voting on that one.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you did.
No.
we did.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah,
I'm
I-
sorry. It's probably my fault of,
Yeah, motion is second.
Got a motion and a second.
Yeah.
And we didn't vote. Sorry about that. Okay, we're back to the jailer dispatcher. And, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Now we're on this one. Now you can make your motion
Okay.
official.
I'll move to approve the upgrade to the Stanley Commander Control Stations.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, that
Thank you,
motion's
Commissioner.
carried. Got that
Okay.
one done.
Mark,
Okay.
can you hang on for just a second?
Sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I talked to the chair here, and I'd like to move to where I would give my report, because my report was going to be that I was in Rochester for the land of acronyms, the SEMNECB meeting.
Yes.
And Mark was there, as well as Travis and Brad Swedberg, or Brian Swedberg. And I guess in encapsulating it, the state has contracted with AT&T to try to put everybody on the same communication, radio communication system.
No, that was not actually for radio communication. It was for this FirstNet, for
which-
internet interoperability, I guess you'd call it. FirstNet is supposed to be designed strictly for public safety, law enforcement, EMS, fire, all that, so that they've got one dedicated system that they can rely on during the event of an emergency and stuff. A lot of those acronyms are are out of my realm of understanding as well, because there's so many different areas that they're going. But
Right.
are you looking for my opinion on the meeting? or-
Well, I think while we were there, I gathered you and the other two were kind of like, we're pretty good where we're at. Is that,
I don't feel it's an issue for us right now down in our little southeast corner. My concern is that by the time that company, AT&T, I think has coverage, solid coverage in like a third of the state right now, and obviously we're not part of that third. So by the time they are able to provide adequate coverage, I don't think I'll be around here anymore. So
right?
it's a ways down the road as far as I'm concerned. We've been talking about it for 3 years, and at my opinion is at that last meeting, they were still talking about the same things we talked about 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So that was my impression too, is that, down the road.
Yes,
they put-
I mean, it's a good idea. And the other part of this too is this is a nationwide thing. It's not limited to Minnesota. So my feeling is where their priority is going to be as far as getting
Yeah, who's gonna
decent
be,
coverage.
who's gonna be first, and, yeah, so, okay. Good enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mark.
Thank you. Now, what do we got? I'm lost as to what.
We're back to
John.
Lisa.
Yeah, John, you're back.
I'm back. Didn't get enough of me yet.
No.
Tonight, Commissioners, I have several contracts to go over with you. 3 contracts specifically. 2 are contracts that are long-term contracts that we've done for a long time, and one's a new contract. I'll start with that. It's a contract with Rebecca Cerveas for supervised visitation. And just to give you a little bit of background on that, when we have a child in care, we are often required by the court to be able to provide opportunities for parents to have visitation or supervised visitation with their child while the child is in placement. That's all in the interest of being able to reunite that family and also provide safe visitation. We have historically used a combination of our social worker staff to provide that supervised visitation. We've also used public health at times, and we've used other contracted entities. I think we've used Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center. More recently, we've used probably the majority of this has been filled by social worker time. That's probably not the best use of our social work time. To contract with like Hiawatha is at a pretty high rate, and so we've been kind of trying to find ways that we can meet this need in an economical way and have at least another option for us. Sometimes too, there's timelines. Once the judge has said, okay, you need to have so many supervised visits by such and such a time, it helps us to have options to be able to meet those requirements. And so we have this opportunity with Mrs. Cerveas, who is willing to do this work for us, also doing some work for us with guardianships. And so we're bringing the contract forward to you to consider tonight so that we can add that to kind of the options that we have for supervised visitation. I think that's what I have.
What would you see this as a cost savings?
This would definitely be a cost savings to use her as opposed to any other option. If you look internally, it's not additional cost, but that means that the people who are doing it, if we're using public health or if we're using a social worker, they're doing this instead of something else that needs done. And if I compare the cost that I have for either of those options, this individual being an individual contractor is far less. Using an organization like Hiawatha, they've got overhead and different things that they have to build into their rates, and so this is significantly less expensive than that.
I guess maybe I'll state it different. Budget-wise, do you think it would increase or decrease your budget?
I guess I would say that it would decrease the budget, because as we would be moving to use public health for some of this, it would come at a higher rate. Or if we add more with Hiawatha Valley, it would be at a higher rate.
I'm not real clear. Would she be here in the courthouse, or?
No, most of these visits would occur probably either in a neutral site or in the home. And so the contract establishes a rate, and it also establishes reimbursement for travel.
So she essentially works out of her house, is that?
Yeah, she'd be an independent contractor. She wouldn't be a county employee. We pay an hourly rate and reimburse travel.
Kind of like Hiawatha Valley.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're not based out of our courthouse or anything.
Correct. And it's just that the rate there would be higher because
Right.
they're covering the operation of their overall organization.
I thought it used to be a real plus to use public health, like the past home care people, and, you know, we're really looking for something like this where they could help out.
Yeah, and what we're finding is there are a lot of places where public health and human services make good sense for us to work together. We've kind of struggled with this one in that going into homes and doing supervised visitation around child protection cases is a little out of the norm for what a public health nurse or a public health, probably more of a case aide or account tech level position. It's kind of out of their lane, if you will. It's not that we haven't done it, and it's not that we won't in the future, but it's more of a challenge to try and make that fit.
And you're not saying this would be strictly Miss Servatius?
No. No.
It'd just be another tool that you could
It's another
use.
option for us.
Okay.
One that I'd anticipate using, though. I think it would free up some of our social worker time, and it does it at a very favorable rate as opposed to other options.
So what are you looking for from us exactly, John? Just
It would be an approval of the contract that we're entering into. So it establishes a rate. The rate is $15.27 an hour, which is equivalent with our entry-level case aid band, and then reimbursement of travel. In addition, we've asked Ms. Servais to complete some training around mandated reporter training, around car seat training, and then also complete background study.
Anybody ready to
I'll
make a
make a
motion?
motion to approve the contract with Rebecca Service for supervised visitation.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Yep. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carried.
All right.
Next item, John.
Next item is a transportation contract with SEMCAC. This is a long-term contract that we've had with SEMCAC. They provide MA transportation for Houston County. So essentially what that is if somebody has, they're eligible for medical assistance and they need to make it to an appointment, but they don't have transportation, it's the same as not having that, entitled service if they can't get there. So part of the MA laws and rules require the counties to be able to provide transportation to these services when it's necessary. Historically, Houston County and many counties use a volunteer driver program, and the one that's run with SEMCAC is very similar to ones that I've seen in other places. And so it offsets, or the contract establishes rates, it establishes kind of the billing process, and then fulfills the county's responsibility for providing that transportation. Really no changes in this contract. In fact, there's no change in the rate this year from last year.
I'll make a motion to approve this MCAC transportation service contract.
Second? From somewhere?
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
All right, last contract is for Workforce Development Incorporated, or WDI. This also is a long-term contract that the county has had to provide employment and training services for people who are participants in the MFIP and DWP programs. MFIP, again, is Minnesota Family Investment Program. It's the state's version of TANF, for the Temporary Aid for Needy Families. It's cash assistance, and along with cash assistance comes requirements on those recipients to participate in employment and training activities, be looking for work, be going through training types of things. So it's a mandated service both to the person who's receiving the cash assistance as well as the county that is doing that work. So we are required under MFIP to provide employment and training services. The state of Minnesota, through the MFIP Consolidated Fund, covers the costs of that, and so there's no county cost, but we've had this long-term relationship with WDI. They provide these services in a number of other counties. One thing I'd say is that I've spent a fair amount of time with WDI over the last year in encouraging innovation, and primarily along the lines of looking at this work in more of a dual customer type of approach. It isn't just the person who's receiving the assistance who has specific needs and training and even some kind of counseling needs. It's also the employer's needs as far as what opportunities are out there, what types of training do they need, so that we can make good matches. In other words, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for our contracted entity to be preparing these folks for jobs that don't currently exist in our communities. And I've been pleased with WDI and their response to some of the things that we've been talking about, and they're changing some of their tactics and approaching, spending a lot more time on the employer side of that equation. The reality is, demographically, we're going to see less and less available employees as baby boomers continue to retire. I think I've said in front of the board before, Houston County isn't getting a whole lot bigger or a whole lot smaller, but it is getting older. And so employers in this area need to find people to do work, or else they will have to go elsewhere. And so it's really incumbent on them to be looking at a variety of different places to meet those needs. These are folks who are currently not engaged in employment and have skills and abilities, and we need to work more creatively to kind of make better matches there. So I'm real pleased with the work that we're doing with WDI. Again, it's a long-term contract. It's covered by the state through the MFIP Consolidated Fund.
Being that I'm on the Workforce Development Board for our county, I will make a motion to approve the contract with Workforce Development.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
All right, one last thing I failed to mention with the MA transportation contract, that also is no outlay from the county. That's covered by medical assistance. Mm-hmm. So the county just has a responsibility of making sure that that is provided, and those are reimbursed ride by ride, so through MA. Any other questions on any of the contracts?
I guess not, John. Thank you.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
John.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, John.
Okay, approve claims, human service and license center disbursements.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approved minutes of board retreat held on the 30th of January.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the board retreat.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Cancel May 1st board meeting because of conflict with state election training. One question, Shar. Is that a training that is available online or? Yeah, okay.
No,
How many people have to go?
I would like 2 of us to go. And if we could
Okay.
switch weeks maybe and have a meeting the second week that week?
Yeah.
And
Well,
just
that's
flip-flop
the
them?
obvious solution to the problem, sure. They'll just switch it to the second week. So we need a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to move approve canceling May 1st and moving the next meeting to the 7th,
8th.
8th,
if that's the right date.
Yep. May 8th.
Okay. Was there a second? I'm sorry.
Second. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, whatever.
Got a couple of them. That's fine. All those in favor, aye.
Yeah. We're really sure.
Whoa.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye. Aye. Okay, we got it.
And actually, the correct date is the 8th, not the 7th.
Yeah. Caught you at it. Okay, now we have several abatements to make motions on. We need one combined motion for all 8 of them.
There was a statement on our notes saying that the abatements need to be approved. We're not canceling any tax at this point. These are for proposed tax and are only being approved to give the assessor the authority to make necessary valuation corrections prior to the final tax calculation. And with that, I'll make one motion to approve them all.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. And we have already done the correspondence to the people who have resigned, and we come to discussion items.
Yeah, one question, we
Whoop, did I miss something?
Julie Windjam, Julie didn't come up at all.
Did we miss one?
No.
We got that letter last meeting,
Right.
and this is just the consent agenda saying that we
Okay, so, yeah, that
already
can,
approved it.
so we didn't approve Wilma last, but we did
We
approve
did,
Julie.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't need
I'll
any
make a
motion.
motion to approve
Yeah.
the consent
Yeah,
agenda. of both
thank
of
you.
them.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carried. Now we go to discussion items.
I have a couple things. One was the concern about a policy on closing a meeting. Do we have a policy on file, Char, with like bad weather, like if the meeting would have been at 9 this morning?
We do not.
We really should have a policy on that. Does the chair need to call and cancel a meeting, put it on the website that the meeting is canceled? We should have something on file.
Well, we've got something I know for special meetings and stuff, cases of an emergency. It's the board chair. I don't know if the sheriff was, I think it's the board chair, the sheriff, and I think HR or something to allow, employees to know what's going
Not
on.
to come to the,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it should be posted on the website so that if any visitors wanted to come to a meeting, they would know the meeting has been canceled.
Yeah, and I don't know timeline. I just know that there was a deal in case of emergency, because we had to do that one time when it was flooding. There was a deal, but that was a number of years ago now.
Maybe we could ask HR to check into it and
I would, just to see if
And
there's-
bring it up
if there is
so we
already
have
a
an actual
policy or
policy where it's put on the
maybe help us
website
write one.
that
Yeah,
it's canceled.
yeah, you're right, there should be something. Now, who was gonna look into that?
I can contact HR and have her
Yeah,
put a policy for us to approve.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
fine.
And I did attend the weed meeting last week for the township officers. I think Mike did a pretty good job. Did you feel like he did a good job with giving identification of weeds and stuff? I think they want to pursue it a little further and action what we can actually do. But yeah, I thought it was good. That was a pretty good meeting. And that's the only two, because my township association meeting was canceled last night because of weather.
I have nothing to share.
Neither do I.
I don't believe I talked about the smart bicycle. And, had a meeting in Rochester. And, everybody is looking toward the day on the hill, they call it, where you can go up and talk to legislators and that about grant money. But as far as La Crescent, District 1 is concerned, this summer, Shore Acres Road will get an extension of the wagon wheel trail, which will hook up to the West Channel Bridge then, which is a nice connection to La Crosse, which continues to leave the biggest challenge from Houston to La Crescent. And, the other thing that they have, the city of La Crescent has $1 million that they received from transportation enhancement grant for an eventual bridge over the highway, which again would be a real nice connection to downtown La Crosse, but or La Crescent. But again, the additional money is probably the tune of $2 million. So if any of you know where we can get that, appreciate hearing from you. So, but no, it's some exciting news, but some of the same old, gee, how do we get there?
How do we pay for it?
Yeah, so that's all.
I attended a planning commission meeting on Thursday night. That lasted a while. We were here until 12:30 in the morning.
Jeez.
There were just 2 items on the agenda, but they both took a while. A 24-head swine facility that's proposed in Blackhammer, that was continued, and the Winnebago Quarry situation that you've already heard a little bit about. And that will be coming, I don't know, I haven't talked to Mr. Locker about that, when that's going to be brought to us, but it'll be within the next 2 weeks, I'm sure. That has to be. Are there any questions about those items at all? I was really impressed with the professionalism of that group of people, the Planning Commission. People were obviously prepared for the meeting. People were asking very good questions. People were paying attention to all of the dialogue that was taking place and all the information they had. And the meeting was conducted really very, very well. That was one of the, I think one of the people who was there made the comment that it was almost a model in how a meeting like that ought to be conducted, and I was very impressed with it. Now, I think I indicated a while back that maybe we would have time this evening to talk about this. We've been, for those members of the public that are here, we have been talking about the possibility of having a county administrator position here for a month or two, a month and a half anyway, I guess, to be technical. And we have started working on a job description, in other words, what we would expect that individual to do. We have to agree on what they're going to do, really, before we go any further, and we've put some ideas together, and I think everybody probably got the email of the second revision. And do we have anything to talk about on that? Anything to add to it? Anything to change? Where are we at?
I really haven't had time to go through it with a comb yet and see.
Well, yeah, you look well rested and you look tanned.
I will get time now.
What was your average score?
I never golfed, Fred. I didn't the whole time.
You
I'm embarrassed
didn't?
to tell you. I know you're going to be ashamed of me.
You go to Arizona and you don't golf. Come on. Okay.
I'm embarrassed.
I guess I would like to, I don't know if we could put this on the agenda for the next meeting, get a chance to review it, come back with any,
Okay.
comments, questions, concerns, and then maybe discuss at the next meeting our next step after this.
Yeah.
Would that work?
Okay. Sure. That's fine. That's fine. Now, what part of the agenda do you want it on? Do you want it on the discussion, or do you want it on the action? My preference would be for discussion, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would think discussion and then discuss what our next.
Right,
cause,
where do
'cause-
we go?
Discuss
yeah,
what the next step will be, and then maybe we would.
Because we can move
Yeah,
towards the next
we
step.
can
where
move.
there's
We can
nothing to
move
vote
to
on
the
at
next
this
step
point.
without making a
Right.
formal motion, I
Right,
think.
correct.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Let's see now. Here's the right side of the piece of paper. And we are now open for closing public comment, if there's anybody who would like to make one.
Indeed, I would, Mr. Chairman. Ken Jumper, La Crescent Township. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I want to read you something here quickly. An assessment of the priority concerns impacting water in Houston County has identified major issues in erosion control and sedimentation, surface water contamination from confined livestock sewage treatment and disposal, home site development, commercial and industrial mining, flood control, human drinking supply, and recreational uses. Now that's not something I wrote, or Bruce Cumico wrote, or Brian Van Gorth wrote. That's in the Houston County Comprehensive Water Plan that you're about to work on renewing again this year. Okay? Did you notice the line? One of the priority concerns is commercial and industrial mining. I have to say I was astounded and shocked that the Planning Commission approved an almost 40-acre mine right on Winnebago Creek, Winnebago Trout Creek, trout stream, on Thursday night. There was no basis to justify that. You can go on further in your comprehensive water plan. It talks about recreational uses for water in Houston County, what has long been recognized as a paradise with miles of trout stream, abundant wild and scenic bluffs. A clean and plentiful water supply is essential to maintain health and stable population for all our wildlife species in the county. I don't know how approving a nearly 40-acre gravel mine on one of the best trout streams in the southern half of the county meets that priority in the comprehensive water plan. In the executive summary of the comprehensive water plan, goal number 3, manage stormwater runoff to minimize risks to human life, property, and the environment. One of the most salient comments on Thursday night, salient issues that was not addressed, Mr. Chairman, and you were there and I was there, was the problem with runoff into 2 adjoining property owners from the existing mining operation by Bruning Rock Products. I don't think they have any intent in addressing that issue. And then the deceptive language used by the attorney for Bruning Rock Products about a notice of violation not really being a violation. Well, it was a violation, and there was lots of evidence presented. And they have not addressed it, and the county zoning administrator has not brought it to you as the commissioners as a violation of the existing mining ordinance.
Chair, this is not a point review.
I would like to point out that the comprehensive...
Sam, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Would you please use the mic?
I'm not bringing up his name anymore. Forget it, Sam.
Maybe Mr. Young.
I would like to point out the people who signed and developed the comprehensive water plan. 5 commissioners who were the commissioners at that time, including, I believe, 2 of you who are currently commissioners. The Water Plan Advisory Board, Irvin Barth, Linda Dahl, Kevin Elton, Rick Frank, Joan Heim Welch, Dana Jomey, Kurt Coolers, Gary Larsons, Ron Miners, Tim Orr, Norman Oseth, Brian Protazinski, our county highway engineer, Arlen Pullman, Roger Stanoff, Jerry Tesmer, Mary Thompson. And then there was the Rit Rivers Soil and Water Conservation Board, Tony Becker, Matt Feldmeyer, Lauren Lapham, Doug Meyer, and Roger Stenhoff. All of those people put their name on a report that says commercial and industrial mining is a serious issue that has to be addressed and contained and managed in this county. And I don't know how approving a near 40-acre mine on a trout stream does any of that. And then there was a resolution that this county board passed sometime, let's see, it was in January of 2014, talking about how they were going to bring all of the other land use planning activity in alignment with the comprehensive water plan. So I would strongly urge you all, commissioners, to go and review the comprehensive water plan before you make any decisions about the Bruning Rock Products CUP application for a mine. And I would also encourage you, when that's on the agenda for your consideration, to hold a public hearing. Because I think you're going to get an earful from people who think that it's really a bad idea to approve a nearly 40-acre rock mine on a very good trout stream in this county. And Commissioner Miller, your comments constantly to some of us about we're needing cheap rock just really ring hollow.
What?
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about.
That we need cheap rock.
When did I say that?
I believe you said it to Bruce Chemical, or, yes, it was Bruce.
No, I did not. I have not ever made that comment.
We'll ask.
So you better check your sources, okay?
We'll ask him and we'll email it to all of you.
Okay, might I remind you, you get more, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. Ken, I gotta tell you, when you guys come in here and you chastise the board of something we haven't done yet, I wasn't at that meeting. I have no idea what's going on. But you talk as though we've already made a decision. You talk as though we've done something wrong with the water plan. This has not come before us yet, but week after week after week, and it's been this way since the frac sand thing.
And you bring it to our attention in an obnoxious manner.
But you guys had a great opportunity to get something done, and you kind of sabotaged it because as soon as you get any progress, you come in and you chastise those people that are going to make the votes in your favor. I've been on your side on a lot of issues, Ken, but yet it really feels you come in and chastise us about it.
I haven't singled out any commissioner.
But you did tonight, and that's what I'm saying, is that this is what...
You just singled me out about a minute ago, and you bring Bruce in here, and I'd like to have him tell me where and when I said anything about cheap rock. It never came out of my mouth.
Well...
Amen.
It was conveyed to me that it did.
Well, then it was a lie.
Well, we thought there were a lot of lies told.
Let's just get off that.
Okay?
Okay?
I just want to end my comment. I wish that you all would have a public hearing on this. Yeah, see, you're shaking your head already.
Yeah, because I'm tired of you telling us what we should do. There's an election. There's an election for county commissioner.
Ken,
run for it.
You do not interrupt a commissioner when he's saying something in this room. You just don't do that.
And I would expect the same thing from them, from you, that you wouldn't interrupt us.
If you would recall, Chairman Miller at the time, after being recently elected, recreated this public comment, okay? Prior to that, you'd be sitting out there with your hands folded. So at least give me credit for allowing this discourse to happen, but your constant criticism of our employee, who I think does an outstanding job, wears thin. Thank you.
Well, in
Now,
response to that, I would just suggest that you read over the ethics complaint that we filed. Okay? Again, I'm here to ask you to have a public hearing, because despite your impression of the planning
now,
commission.
Ken, you were here to ask us to schedule a public hearing. You've said that. If you have any other purpose, fine. Otherwise, just
I've always been
take
very
it off.
respectful. I think you'll have to agree. I've always been very respectful when I've come here and talked to you.
I disagree on that one, but we'll end the conversation there.
Just let it go. Yeah, okay.
You know. Thank you, Commissioner. I always say.
Any further public comment? I believe that we are to the point for asking for adjournment. A motion for same.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
How about that? We drew a second on that one. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.